Çoğdan başlayayız mı?
Let's get it started.
All right, well, Shavkat,
Break.
over here. First of all, congratulations on the victory. Can you walk us through the submission that you pull off with Jeff? We don't really see standing guillotines standing bulldog chokes like that in the UFC.
Біріншіден құтты болсын. Қалай submission қалай кетті, удушающий айтып берші.
Рахмет. Енді ойламаған жерден болды деп айтсам да болады. Негізінде мен қарсыласымды әйтеуір қандай болса да жеңуім керек еді. Өте қуаныштамын.
I didn't really think about that, I was thinking that I have to get him out of there in any way, so I'm happy.
And at media day, you said when we asked you, do you think Jeff was the most powerful opponent that you had faced, even before you got to the UFC? And you said you would know after facing him. So now that your fight with Jeff is over, how did you rate his power and his skill set in there?
Перед боем у тебя спрашивали, что является ли Джефф одним из самых таких взрывных, сильных соперников. Ты сказал, что расскажешь, что ты думаешь?
Мен айта алмаймын ондай қатты жылдам деп. Негізінде не десем болады, бұл жекпе-жек мен әрине жеңдім, өте қуаныштамын, бірақ маған бұдан да жақсы бой көрсетуге болатын еді деп ойлаймын. Бұлайна Құдайға шүкір, мыңға шүкір, осынша жеңіп, оңай қарсылас емес.
It's a fight. I believe I could perform better. I'm happy that I won. But it's a very tough opponent, very good opponent.
When you say you could have performed better, what specifically do you think you were dissatisfied with in there?
Когда ты говоришь, что ты мог лучше выступить, что именно, в каких аспектах ты считаешь?
Бәр жерде кішкене не десем, салмақ ауыр болды. Біріншіден қарсыласым өте ауыр болды. Күрескен кезде де сезілді ғой, ұстасқан кезде де. Мен негізінде мен ойлаймын, одан бәр жақтан не десем, навык у меня лучше по идее. Қазақша айтқанда мен одан жақсырақ болдым бәр жақтан.
My opponent missed weight. He was very heavy. I felt it in the clinch position when I was going for takedowns. But I believe I have a better skill set than him. That's why I won.
When you found out how much he had missed weight by, what went through your mind? Were you angry? Were you agitated? Did it not bother you? What exactly went through your mind?
Когда ты узнал, насколько много он перевесил, какие у тебя были мысли? Был ли ты злой или тебе было все равно?
Әрине, кішкене не десем болады. Салмағы көп болғаннан кейін ойланып қалдым, неге ол жай бір 300-400 грамм емес, 1 кило емес, 2 килограмм деген бұл мынандай деңгейде өте көп салмақ. Сондықтан да мен дайын болдым. Неге дегенде мен қалай жағдай болмасын, мен төбелесенден өткенде январь айда отмена болды бой. Содан кейін қаншама ай дайындалып, бұлайна мен Лас-Вегаске жайдан жай кеп кетуге болмайды ғой енді. Қаншама адамдар күтіп отыр.
It wasn't just a little 300-400 grams. It was 4 pounds. It was a heavy miss. But, also the fight in January got canceled. I wanted to fight. I came to Las Vegas, not for vacation. I wanted to fight to get the fight done.
The final question for me, it seems like you called out either Colby, title shots and everything. So when do you want to get back in there and how realistic do you think a fight against Colby is?
Ты вызвал на бой Колби или попросил титульный бой? Как быстро ты хочешь вернуться в клетку и считаешь ли ты реалистично, что Колби согласится?
Клеткеге келуді білмеймін, кішкене демалып өзімізге келіп, алдында Рамазан айы бар, ораза ұстап иншалла. Одан кейін қараймыз, асығыс жоқ. Маған титул берсе, бірақ тезірек қайтуға тырысамын жекпе-жекке. Мен ойлаймын, титульный бой Абу-Даби өте керемет болатын еді. Қазақстаннан жарты арена Қазақстандікі болады, қазақ жанкүйерлеріне.
First I want to get rest after a fight like that. I'm in no rush, Ramadan months ahead of us. But saying that, title fight in Abu Dhabi will be great. Half of the arena will be full of Kazakhstan fans. It will be great for my country.
Shavkat over here. Being the first fighter to finish Jeff Neal in the UFC, do you think that has earned you a title shot?
Учитывая, что ты первый человек, кто удосрочил Джеффа Нила в UFC, дает ли это тебе шанс подраться за титул?
Әрине, Джефф Нил қаншама мына жерде қаншама мықты қарсыластармен шыққан болған, мен де ешкім оны досрочно жеңген жоқ. Бүгін маған осы жеңіс, осы досрочно жеңу маған бұйырды. Өте қуаныштымын, мен ойлаймын, титулге мен былай айтқанда шығуыма болады деп ойлаймын. Тек қана оны UFC шешеді, мен дайынмын. Берсе, октябрьға берсе өте әдемі, мен дайындалып та бәр жағынан өспет етемін.
You know, he fought many tough opponents and no one finished him. I was able to do it. I don't know, it's going to be UFC's decision, but I'm ready for the title shot. And if it's going to be in Abu Dhabi, it's going to be beautiful.
And I know you've trained with Kamaru Usman before. If he ends up defeating Leon Edwards, would it be difficult to fight him just because you've trained together before?
Ты ранее тренировался с Камару Усманом. Если он победит Эдвардса, будет ли какие-то проблемы тебе с ним встретиться?
Ешқандай қарсыласу болмайды деп ойлаймын Османмен. Мен онымен жай ғана бір рет тренировка істегенмін, ешқандай маған эмоция ештеңе чувствованда болған жоқ. Оны да сондай, бізге біз қарсылас ретінде қараймыз, ешқандай кімде титул болса, мен сонымен шыққым келеді.
I don't think it's going to be a problem. We trained just once. I don't have any feelings for him. I believe he had same towards me. I look at him as an opponent. Whoever gets the belt, I'm ready to face him.
And just last one for me. How are you going to celebrate tonight after the victory?
Как будешь праздновать сегодня?
Қазақстан жанкүйерлері бар, осында қазақ бауырларымыз, солардың қасында сөйлесіп, отбасымызбен сөйлесіп болды. Соңғы біздер тамақ ішіп, басқа не істейміз.
Yeah, I have some Kazakhstan fans who came here to support me. I'm going to meet them for a meal, then talk to my family over the phone. That's it.
Shavkat back here. Shavkat, I'm wondering, are you going to go to the London card in 2 weeks to support Rafael Fiziev?
Планируешь ли ты поехать в Лондон на турнир, чтобы поддержать Рафаэля и посмотреть из него?
Менде виза жоқ, Англияға білмедім, бірақ әрине жақсы еді. Рафаэлға сәттілік тілеймін. Мен ойлаймын, Гейджин Рафаэл ұтып алады деп.
I don't have a visa, but it will be great to go there. I wish good luck to Rafael, and I believe he's going to beat Gage.
Out of curiosity, who do you think will win between Jorge Masvidal and Gilbert Burns?
И в бое между Масвидалем и Бернсом кто победит, ты думаешь?
Бернс.
Thank you.
Hey everybody! Sorry we missed the intro. Things running a little off kilter. That was UFC welterweight contender. Maybe the scariest man at welterweight after what he just did to Jeff Neal. Standing bulldog choke, Casey. Standing. But have you ever seen a standing bulldog choke in your life? Not even in a cage fight, like in the training room.
I've seen it like in a bar, like if a drunk.
Yeah,
Say,
yeah, exactly. I've never seen two people who know something about fighting and someone get that. That is, Jeff Neal knows how to fight.
He knows how to fight. He
definitively knows how to fight. Oh, we're already back up though. We've got Ciryl Gane. I guess he didn't suffer much, so
right
here
now,
he goes.
Sure, just to say the least. But I guess talk to me about what is going through your mind at the moment.
Disappointed, of course, but the biggest feeling is really angry about myself. Really angry because yes, we accepted this fight. It was not a short notice, but the time was not too long. But man, we work a lot. And we spend a lot of time with my team, my sparring partner. So I'm really angry about myself because I spend a lot of time with my partner, my coaches, my families. Yeah, and I don't have a good reflex during the fight. You see, and so I'm really angry.
I guess what's the most disappointing part for you? I mean, you didn't get to strike a whole lot, or the defensive wrestling. What's most disappointing for you?
For all, for everything, for all of that. On my striking at first, my entrance. I'm gonna talk about my entrance in the game. My start was really not good, and after that, you have an opportunities because we twist. I don't remember exactly how we did that, but you go on the clinch, we go back on the ground. You try to have my back. I defending my back, face to face. he tried to smite me. I was comfortable because he don't have a good guillotine, and I know that. But I was afraid about the referee, and I remember my coach say, "Don't stay on this position. This is bad position during the training." So I tried to move, and he readapt exactly at this moment when I move, and he fucked me off. Shit.
You're the first one to compete against Jon Jones as a heavyweight. What can you tell us about his? I mean, is he as strong as any other heavyweight? As fast as any other heavyweight? What do you think of him as a heavyweight?
It was a short feeling, but he's a real heavyweight for sure. Unfortunately, yeah, he's a real heavyweight. Yeah, of course.
Last thing for me, I mean, the good thing is you're not hurt, I would imagine. So, do you want time away to forget about this, or do you want to book a fight as quick as possible to compete again? What's next for you?
This is a real loss. This is the first real loss I have. You see, I talk about the loss against Francis. It was not a big loss for me. I learned, but it was not too big. But this one, this one is a real loss. So now this is the past, and I must to go forward to see the future, and I'm going to go straight back to the gym.
Ciryl, over here. You said after your Francis fight, obviously you took some lessons from him and stuff like that. So what lessons do you think you took from this fight against Jon Jones, even though it was very quick?
Like that, this is still really warm, but the first thing is, the bigger thing is, I'm going to go back straight to the gym, and I'm going to work on my grand game. Yes, he's a really high level wrestler and a grand game. But we work a lot, but I don't have a good reflex, so I'm really angry about myself. So yeah, I'm gonna work on it.
And you had mentioned, obviously, this was a relatively short notice fight. You only got it like 6 or so weeks ago, and you had the hand injury and everything. Do you think if you had had more time to prepare, the outcome could have been differently for you?
We never know. We never know. I'm not sure. Seriously, we did very well. We spent a lot of time at the gym with my team. And no. Seriously, it's not about. I'm not sure. Yes, probably it would be better to have more time. Of course, every time it's better to have more time. But seriously, just about myself.
Last one for me. It seems like Jon Jones is going to fight Stipe next. How do you think that fight will go?
Beautiful fight. I can see to watch that.
Ciryl back here. In the back.
Yeah.
Just wondering, the fight opens and immediately it's a low blow. Can you just walk me through that? Obviously, even for yourself, the momentum had to feel differently. Get going for a big fight.
Dès le début, il a pris un frappe dans les parties. Est-ce que tu peux revenir dessus?
Yeah. What you want to know about that?
I guess for you, did it throw off a little bit of your focus for it to happen quickly?
Est-ce que ça t'a déconcentré d'avoir?
No, not really. No, not really. He go. How you say? Il s'est baissé quoi.
Yeah, he bent. He went down.
He went down, and I land my low kick at the same time, and so just this happening. No, it was okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ciryl,
Ah, désolé.
on peut en faire quelques-unes en français, s'il vous plaît?
Ouais, bien sûr.
Merci. Je sais que c'était il y a quelques minutes, mais vous arrivez à comprendre ce qui a pu se passer, parce que j'imagine que ça a été gagné par quelque chose, mais que ça arrive aussi vite, c'est évidemment pas ce que vous aviez prévu.
C'est absolument pas ce que j'avais prévu. C'est la raison pour laquelle je suis très énervé contre moi-même. Je m'imaginais pas perdre du tout comme ça si ça devait se passer dans ce contexte-là. Donc ouais, très déçu, très énervé de moi-même, et on va prendre le temps de réfléchir à tout ça, à plat, mettre tout ça à plat, savoir qu'est-ce qui n'y a pas été. Mais à chaud comme ça, je dirais que c'était moi. Alors j'ai pas l'impression que mon mindset était pas, que j'étais en français
ailleurs.
Que j'ai pas l'impression que j'étais ailleurs ou que j'avais l'impression vraiment d'être concentré. Donc c'est la raison pour laquelle je j'étais surpris que je suis resté sur les fesses parce que je me suis dit merde, mais ok, il a un bon ground game, on a fait des bonnes choses, mais putain, mais comment ça se fait que je me suis fait avoir, tu vois, c'était un peu ce ressenti-là. Donc là, maintenant, voilà, c'est passé, il faut retourner à la salle.
Parce que vous disiez pas le combat contre Francis Ngannou, que vous aviez fait des erreurs et que vous n'alliez pas les refaire. Est-ce que vous avez le sentiment que là, justement, c'est arrivé si vite que vous avez
C'est
refait
pas
des erreurs?
exactement la même chose. Avec Francis, on a perdu sur du pointage. Il a su saisir des occasions et utiliser sa force. Là, de la même occasion, je ne sais plus quelle action il y a eu, mais je sais que ça a dérapé de mon côté et tout de suite, du coup, il m'a amené au sol de cette manière-là. Donc, il a su saisir une opportunité. Il a voulu prendre mon dos, j'ai défendu le dos, j'ai refait face et ensuite j'ai fait des la guillotine. Bon, c'était différent, mais c'était encore des...
Vous êtes connu pour être positif et voilà, toujours regarder la vie de manière positive. Mais là, comment on se relève de cette défaite-là? Vous disiez, c'est la salle directe et c'est le travail. Il y a que ça comme
Oui,
réponse.
c'est là. C'est ne pas oublier, mais on ne peut pas changer le passé. C'est vers l'avant qu'on va pouvoir changer le futur. Et on va travailler.
L'UFC, c'est pas toujours simple. Enfin, voilà, il faut faire ses preuves. Comment vous pensez que vous allez avoir une nouvelle chance pour un championnat du monde bientôt? Comment il va falloir travailler pour en avoir une nouvelle, en fait?
Pour l'instant, j'ai aucune idée de ça. Là, je pense même pas à ça. Je pense plutôt à m'entraîner.
Merci.
Thank you.
And that's former interim heavyweight champion, now the first heavyweight that Jon Jones absolutely obliterated. So, Casey, while we wait, let's talk about that main event. Jon Jones is your new UFC heavyweight champion. Open question on whether he will be the #1 heavyweight fighter in the world in the only rankings that matter. We're going to find that out pretty soon. But what about you, Casey? Where do you come down after watching a thoroughly non-competitive fight? That was an absolute steamrolling. Where are you going to be ranking Jon Jones after this?
Oh, number 2, behind Francis.
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2 behind Francis, and the follow-up question, pound for pound wise, number 3 pound for pound.
Okay, so you're giving him the credence. I think we're going to see a lot of that from the pound for pound. I'm not. He is my number 2 heavyweight. I've already done my rankings while we were sitting here. Jon Jones is my number 7 pound for pound fighter.
Yeah.
Because I largely want to view pound for pound as a reflection of recent things mostly. So
yeah, I might rethink the number 3 position, but I'm confident in the number 3 being the highest. He might go down a couple of notches, but him having as the second best heavyweight in the world right now, yeah, I have no issue with that. But Francis, he needs to fight in MMA.
At some point that he will lose it just out of inactivity.
Yeah, inactivity, and he could lose it out of not having the proper opponent to. If Jon goes through and does Jon Jones, if he does a light heavyweight run at heavyweight in the UFC, he will eventually, pretty soon, honestly, surpass Francis in the.
I'm with you on that.
The heavyweight rankings.
I'm with you on that. I won't give it to Jon for beating Stipe, but if he beats Stipe and he beats Curtis Blades or Pavlovich, if he gets 2 more, I'll really consider it. If he gets 3 more, I think I'll just have to. But for now, looks like I'm going to assume this is Dana.
That is true.
This is Dana White.
The performance of the night went to Jones, Grasso, and Bo Nickel. Fight of the night was yes, Neil. Yes, who said that? Rakhmonov and Neil. Absolutely. Neil didn't make weight. I don't give a shit. I'm paying him anyway. The gate was 12.15 million, 4th highest gate in UFC history, and the highest gate ever for a heavyweight fight. Attendance was 19,471. It was sold out. John Morgan, what do you got?
Well, Well, we got to start with the main event, right? Jon Jones closed the show in style. I guess what can you say about his performance to move up to heavyweight 3 years away?
Listen, anybody deny this guy is the GOAT anymore? I don't think anybody would deny it. Not only is he the greatest light heavyweight ever, he looks like the greatest heavyweight ever too. So, I mean, there were a couple of interviews leading up to this fight where he was saying, "I'm going to make this look easy," and I thought that was a silly thing to say. Is unfucking believable, man. He really is.
I never forget when he claimed the light heavyweight title that you kind of mentioned at the time. You were a little worried about him and how he was going to be in his career and what was going to happen. What do you think now that he's your heavyweight champion? I mean, do you feel like he's a new guy at this point, or you still have concern about what happened?
You know, let's just put it this way. I mean, Jon Jones, there's no doubt that Jon Jones is special. He's the greatest of all time. He's undefeated. He's never lost a fight ever in the UFC. He's fought all the best competition out there. But dealing with him is like dealing with an artist, is the best way to explain it. And I don't know what's going to happen from here on out. You know, I'm just happy we got to see what we saw tonight. It just, and many of us that have been in the game for a long time, some of you might disagree, some of you might agree. I'm a big believer in ring rust and what it does to you. We didn't even get to see any ring rust. Who knows if there was any ring rust tonight? He just went in there and literally made it look like nothing, like it was the easiest thing in the world for him to do. He's a total freak of nature, and he's the best ever.
Joe Rogan brought up the idea of Stipe at International Fight Week. Is that something that you guys have kicked around, or do you feel like that could be the plan?
I don't know when, but he's definitely fighting Stipe.
I want to ask you about Alexa Grasso as well. Obviously, phenomenal win for her. I guess, what are your thoughts on her as the new flyweight champ?
Yeah, I mean, she looked awesome tonight. Her hands looked really good when she got taken down and was on her back. I loved how busy she was in the guard and kept moving, kept Valentina working, kept throwing punches. I mean, she came in with an awesome game plan tonight and executed it perfectly. I think a lot of people, including me, thought that Valentina was probably going to be too strong for her, too much for her. She proved everybody wrong, and she looked incredible tonight.
Obviously, we've got to check on health and all those things, but I mean, given Valentina's long dominance, would you say an immediate rematch is warranted because of what she's accomplished?
I don't know, but yeah, probably. But sitting right here right now, I haven't even thought of that. Only you guys think of shit like that after just watching what we watched tonight.
I did want to say, I mean, 3 Mexican champions now at this point, pretty incredible. Is it safe to say you'll be going to Mexico sometime this year?
Probably, yeah. It seems like the thing to do. If you look at what's going on with the Mexican champions and fighters right now, wait till this PI is open down there for 5-6 years. Watch what's going to happen in Mexico. It's just, you know, we're finally getting to where I wanted to be with Mexico. Been a big focus of mine since day one. Took a long time, but here we are.
And just last thing for me, I did want to ask you about Shavkat as well. Obviously, fight of the night, you just praise it. But I saw you get up and get out of your seat to go talk to him. So tell me what you think of him.
Well, it's very rare that you'll see me go up into the octagon for a fight that isn't a title fight. But not just him, but Jeff Neal too. I mean, those guys fought their asses off. And there's many times when you don't make weight, you don't get the bonus no matter what happens. There's no way in hell I wasn't going to give that kid the bonus tonight. The heart that he showed tonight, the knees that he took, the punches that he fired back with and landed. And I mean, you know, both guys just fought an absolute dogfight. I love that fight, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for both of those guys.
Hey, Dana, to your left. You and I have talked a long time about how good Jon would have been if he didn't get in all that trouble or anything. Now that you see him, even though he's older now than he was before, do you think he can be even better as a heavyweight than he was as a light heavyweight?
I don't think that you and I ever really argued about how good he could be. He was. He is. He's always been the great. I mean, through all the things that me and Jones have been through, you know, in both of our careers here, I've never denied that this guy's the best ever. The question is, how big would he be right now? And I say, I mean, you see, he's got the biggest heavyweight fight of all time, one of the top grossing fight. Eric was just telling me tonight is going to be one of the biggest social media events we've ever done, et cetera, et cetera. The question is, this guy he should be on Nike commercials. Those are the things when you talk about how big and how great Jon Jones could have been had he not had the personal problems. Those are the questions that we'll never know.
And you look at him now, do you think, given his attitude that he has, he seems so grateful for things, he seems in great condition, that he can go on a long time, right? I mean, who knows what he wants to do, but do you see in him that he has a number of fights in him if he chooses to do that?
I don't know. This is what you get when you're dealing with Jon Jones. I know he wants to fight Stipe. He wants to fight Stipe. He's interested in that fight. If that fight happens, awesome. We get to see this talented freak, perform again. If not, I don't know. Who knows? I told Hunter, charter a jet and send him right back to New Mexico right now. Let's get him home safe and sound.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about was was Gane, he made Gane not look very good, and Ciryl gets out wrestled by Francis, now comes in this fight. Do you think Ciryl needs to kind of go back to the drawing board and kind of take a look at what he's doing? Obviously a great athlete, but maybe hasn't gotten all the pieces together that he needs to compete against these kind of guys?
Oh, the Francis fight, if he doesn't go for the heel hook, he wins that fight. I mean, he made one silly mistake, out of the 5 rounds. Tonight, to even compare Francis Ngannou or Ciryl Gane to Jon Jones, you can't even compare him to this guy. He went in there and finished. I don't know how you got. I still can't fucking believe what I saw. How easy and how fast and how simple he made that look. It's still blowing my mind. So it's hard to even talk about him in any other heavyweights.
Last thing I wanted to ask you is, how much of it do you think in his case is mental? Like, he's a guy, when he focuses, he seems like he raises it up even a higher level than he is, when he's, whatever else he does. When he said he didn't train for Gus and he fought a great fight, but then when he does focus, like against DC, he brought it up another level. Do you think that mental aspect of his game could get him higher and bring him to another level in his in the sport?
I don't know if there is enough. I think he is the level. He's the level. I mean, I've heard stories that I don't know if they're true or not true. I don't know what's true or not true anymore these days. But if the stories are true that I've heard of Jon Jones in the past when he was the dominant light heavyweight champion, wow. Not training and partying too much and just showing up here and fighting these incredible fights and beating the absolute best in the world. And even if you look at him tonight, he's had 3 years to put on the weight. A lot of people are saying, I don't know, he looks soft. What if this, that, and, blah, blah, blah. Ciryl Gane is a monster in great physical shape and else. Jon Jones went in there and just treated him like he was a little kid. So I think he is the level. I don't know if there's any other level higher than Jon Jones.
Staying over here in the front.
Yeah.
I know you gave him a bonus, but can I get a few words on what you thought of Bo Nickal's performance in his debut? Only 3-0. Yeah,
I mean, I had a lot of questions about him. And when you saw his opponent tonight, guy's huge. He's got a ton of experience. And I thought that, listen, he's a human being. I don't care what level of wrestling he's good. This isn't wrestling. This is a completely different game here. And there's adrenaline dumps. There's, the nervous energy, all the things of performing in the UFC for the first time. Man, he blew all that right out of the water. He looked incredible. And, Mick came over to me after and said, he wasn't even applying that choke the right way, and he still got that choke and choked him. So, I mean, that kid's been in the sport 2-3 years.
So how do you manage going off of that? How do you manage his future going forward? Very talented, but his record is what, 4-0, 5-0. You can
3-0 with 21 fights, and as big as the kid that he fought tonight and strong. I mean, you see the legs on that kid? I don't know. I think he's there. I think this guy could possibly go out and. I mean, when you look at the early days of the UFC, and it's hard to compare that to now, but guys like Cain Velasquez fought for a title when he was 8-0 or something like that. You know what I mean? So who knows? Talent, and he's only going to get better, and the kind of experience that he needs, like Rakhmonov, right? He's 16-0, but tonight will take him to another level. When you fight a guy like Neil, who puts on a performance like he did tonight, and not just testing him as far as his physical and cardio and all the other things, testing his chin, his heart. That what helps take these guys to another level.
Cody Garbrandt obviously got back into the win column too. Not the firefight we're accustomed to seeing from him in recent fights. So what did you make of his performance?
With who?
Cody?
Yeah. You know what? I was crazy busy in the back. Crazy shit going on back there tonight, but I missed the Cody fight. I was dealing with some stuff back. Nothing bad, just work stuff.
Derek Brunson's corner threw in the towel.
Yeah, I saw that.
So what did you make of that?
I thought the fight should have been stopped, and I applaud his corner for throwing it out. Seen a few fights here that I thought should have been stopped by the referee. Not tonight, but I'm just saying in the UFC. And I thought the corner should have thrown in the towel.
Unrelated to this fight card, but is there a location for the mixed card? Because Newark seems to be what I saw in an interview where you said Vegas might want the single. Was in Mexico that week.
Cinco de Mayo fight.
Appears we are having some stream trouble. Yeah, Casey, I was about to ask if you could put up the technical difficulties.
All right, we'll wait for
bear with
Jose
us. The great Jose Young's on location in Las Vegas, obviously, for 285. It's been a bit spotty with the connection there. I know all night he's been telling us about, so I'm sure things are just getting a little rough. But we'll hope to have this fixed soon. In the meantime, Casey, Jon Jones, is he the GOAT?
Of all of MMA, or are we talking about weight class?
All of MMA. He's obviously the light heavyweight GOAT.
Yeah, obviously.
He can't be the heavyweight GOAT. He's had one fight, but
I say no, but he's right there. He's on that, top three, and if you want to argue he is, go for it. I still have a hard time saying GOAT for, I think, the weaker weight classes of mixed martial arts, but that's not his fault. So he's doing the best he can. Let me see. Sorry. Continue to talk. I'm working with Jose, trying to get back up.
Okay. I think I just wanted to bring it up because that is going to be the tenor of the conversation moving forward here. Like the next few days, we're going to talk about where Jon Jones ranks as a heavyweight. I think we at MMA Fighting are probably ultimately going to come down with him as number 2 behind Francis, but I suspect we will have a couple of people who do not agree and have Jon as the number 1. And after a performance like that, it's tough to argue too heavily against them, because just what a demolition. Like that was everything we could have hoped from Jon Jones, right? We've been thinking about this for 10 years, didn't know what he looked like, came out and ran right through Ciryl Gane. So I have no problem putting him at number 2. I think that's almost undeniable, frankly, unless you are really, really being a stickler for like resume and division. But and I will, because we were talking about this before, and I got to kill time because we're still waiting on this technical difficulty issue. I'm not going to have Jon high in my pound for pound. He's going to be in the top 10. I'm keeping him out, not because he doesn't necessarily deserve it, but in the all-time list, 1, 2, 3, he's somewhere in that very, very, very top echelon. But he's fought once in 4 years now, and as great as it was, I would like to reward some more activity in that. So comes back International Fight Week, beats Stipe. Ooh, we might be having something back, or not. Anyway, if he comes back and beats Stipe, he's going to keep moving up that list. And yeah, man, he's probably the best fighter that we've ever seen. Like I think it's safe to say he is the best fighter I've ever seen. Greatest is a bit of a more fraught word, but that was about as impressive as you could have even imagined this fight is going. I mean, he finished it in what, 2 minutes? Was it even 2 minutes?
It
Let me look up the exact time.
You know the vibes I got from this? I got the Conor versus Jose Aldo vibe, where the fight ended before I even got excited about the fight starting.
I felt that exact same way. I didn't do any of this publicly because I was still dealing with the co-main event, which we'll get to in due time. But watching that walkout, I think I sent it into our Slack, and I was like, based exclusively on the walkout, Jon Jones is about to murder Ciryl Gane. And it wasn't that Gane looked afraid Gane looked like he always did, but Jones looked so ready, like so free and easy and just not a care in the world. And he effectuated that. He came in and bulldozed this dude. And I gotta say, Casey, like, if he, this is the best Jon Jones. This is the Jon Jones that I always wanted. I have been on a corner of anti-Jon Jones for a while now, not because I don't recognize that Jon Jones is the greatest talent that's ever been in the sport, but I have always said that he doesn't fight smart, which I know is a hot take because people love to laud his fight IQ. But I think the worst part of his game is being a rangy kickboxer. And he like really leaned into that as it went on. And we saw, the Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes fights because he like wasn't doing this aspect. Whereas I think he's the best clinch grappler and top position grappler I've ever seen. I don't think top position grappler, maybe Luke Rockhold is like in the conversation with him. But if you're talking clinch,
you guys have an
we're
update
back.
on him
Dana White, here we go.
On Colby?
Yes.
Yeah, Colby's ready to fight. He's ready to fight, and he's ready to fight anybody. I know we've reached out to him for a couple of different fights, and he said yes to it, but it just didn't work out.
And I don't mean to potentially put a dampener on Jon's major success that he has right here, but he said he's not getting lit this weekend, but he's got an after party here in Vegas. Does that at all worry you slightly?
He has an after fight party here?
Yes, he does. I think it's at Hakkasan. Not that I'm plugging tickets away.
There's a billboard for it on the street.
Is there really?
Yeah. So does that worry you at all slightly? I mean,
it does a little bit, yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Like
I said, I told Hunter, charter a fucking plane and get him back to Mexico ASAP. I didn't know he had an after party, but
thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Dana? From a business perspective, it's of course great that Jon Jones won tonight, but the fact that Ciryl Gane lost and he was like the French fighter in UFC, and you guys had a big event last September in France. Do you see that maybe as a problem for the growth of the sport in France? Or?
It's funny. Eric was telling me tonight that the UFC is the top 13 trends in France. He said that's unheard of. It's just that type of stuff never happens. So I don't look at things that way as far as the business goes, because whoever wins, and it is what it is. It's like we were talking about, Mexico has been a huge focus for me for a very long time. And here we are in 23, and it's all just starting to align now, where we have 3 Mexican-born champions. We're building a PI there. It's just, you do what you can do. You focus on certain areas. You build the business, and then it's all out of your hands once that cage door shuts. It's up to them. It's not up to us, and we just have to go with whatever happens. Ciryl Gane is from France, but he's still one of the best heavyweights in the world. It's just Jon Jones is so much better than everybody else. It's crazy.
Dana,
when Michael Chandler was back here, he said that him and Conor have not really liked each other as much as he thought they would, and actually there's a bit of contention in filming of Tough. Has there been any incidents between those two?
That who didn't like each other?
Michael Chandler says him and Conor are not friends.
He and Conor are not friends? That's weird.
How's the filming?
Did anybody think they were friends?
I think they liked each other before they started filming.
You think that what?
They liked each other before they started filming. Michael said he thought he was going to get on with Conor, and since filming...
Oh, Michael?
Yeah, Michael Chandler.
Oh, Chandler. All right, I don't hear well. Thought you said Makachev.
No.
Where are you from, buddy, that you think those two were going to be friends? Yeah, but they did. Chandler and Conor were very respectful to each other. And then some things started escalating that you'll see on the show. And yeah, they do not like each other now. A lot of shit went down on Friday. Yeah.
Good for the show, though?
I don't look at stuff that's good for the show or things like that. Whatever happens, happens. The stuff that just happened shouldn't have happened, and I'm getting old, boys. I'm getting old. I would have been in there sooner, back in the old days, but yeah, not good.
Did it get physical?
There was a lot of shit that went down on Friday. Yeah.
Dan over here. Just a quick one. We had Marc-Andre Barriault win earlier tonight. When are you coming back to Canada? September 2019 was the last event in Vancouver. Is there anything in the works at all? A lot of Canadians are wanting to know.
Yeah, tonight was a massive event in Canada. We were trending really, really big in Canada for pay-per-view. And obviously, Canada's been an incredible market for us since the early days. So we're trying to get back to everywhere right now. But yeah, we're going to get to Canada soon. We're working on that now and figuring that out. There's just, because of the COVID thing, you know, there's so many places that we haven't been in a lot. I mean, we're going back to Miami for the first time in 20 years. So the answer is yes.
Would Montreal be near the top of that list just because they haven't, I think out of all the cities, they've been kind of the one that's been the longest without an event. And that used to be a mainstay when George St. Pierre was in the UFC. Is that something you're looking at?
Well, obviously, Toronto is a big one for us. You know, that's the one that I always think is, when we go back to Canada, we go to Toronto, it'll be a massive event. And then once and I'm not saying that's what we're doing, I'm just off the top of my head right here. But you get in Toronto and then you start moving around Canada like we did when we first went into the country.
Dana, sorry, just one more quick one for you.
Yeah.
Can you clarify what happened with Darren Till's release? He said he came to you guys and asked to be let go, but, you know, online fans think because of his losing skid, maybe you guys released him.
They think that what?
That maybe you guys like cut him because of his recent losses, but he says you guys, or he came to you and requested his release.
Well, like Darren Till said, we have an incredible relationship with Darren Till. We like him and we respect him very much. And, you know, let me just put it to you this way. Darren Till's not the only guy that's ever come to us and said, I just can't compete here anymore. You know what I mean? And no, he did ask for his release, and we did release him.
He says he wants to be back in like 2-3 years or something. Is that something you'd be open to if he maybe gets back on track a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what his plans are for outside of the UFC, but you know, he's a guy that we've had a great relationship with. We really like him, and obviously we wish him the best. And if he gets to a level where he thinks he's ready to come back to the UFC, yeah, we would probably do it. Yep.
Hey, Dana, one final question to your left here. What did Brady say about Jon Jones?
What did who say?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady?
What did he say about Jones?
Yeah, I mean, he was he loves Jon Jones, you know, and obviously everybody in the arena was blown away by what happened tonight. And but yeah, he's a Jon. He flew in today from Florida to see the fight, so he's a fan. And him and Chandler got to hook up again tonight before he walked out. Got to see him, and but yeah, that's it.
Dana, one quick one. A lot of fans on Twitter are talking about like that result makes them want to see Francis fight more. Is that road like completely done now?
They want to see Francis do what?
Fight Jones still even more because of that.
I tried to make that fight. Yeah.
Is that like completely done now?
Done. Never gonna happen. We tried to make that fight with him for 3 years. You gotta want that fight. Doesn't matter what listen. We all want to see a fight. The guy's gotta want the fight. Francis doesn't want the fight. You can't make him fight. And I doubt it would have gone any differently.
Dana, down to your right. Do Do you know what happened with Jon Jones's foot when he was walking into the octagon? It seemed like there was a problem with some tape he had on it.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. I think he tried to tape his feet, and the commission didn't let him do it when he walked out. Yeah, I didn't find out what that was about yet.
And obviously he's 35, but other than Stipe, do you think Jon will be around for a lot longer? Like, if you fight Stipe, is there anyone else really, or do you think he'll leave?
Well, like I was telling Kevin earlier, Jon Jones is one of those guys that so good, so talented. But like I said, he's like dealing with an artist. He makes a lot of money, man. Not a lot of people can say, you know what, I'd take 3 years off and not work. So who knows? I mean, if he wants to fight Stipe, so we'll make the Stipe fight, and then whatever he wants to do after that, we'll be lucky if we get to see him again, you know. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he retires after that. I don't know.
Finally, we're back in London in a few weeks. I know you love a London fight night, so
Yeah.
How excited are you for Edwards and Usman 3?
I'm excited. I got the slap finale coming up next weekend, and then I jump on a plane and go right to Boston. We're filming Looking for a Fight, and then I go to England for the fight. So I got a fun couple weeks coming up. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll land in England like the day of St. Paddy's Day, which I heard is awesome there too. So I'm looking forward to all of it.
Hey, Dana, over here.
Yep.
Keith Whittier with Ottawa Life Magazine. First of all, congratulations to you and your team for a fantastic night of fights.
Thank you.
Over the course of the 30 years of the UFC, there have been many amazing accomplishments, breaking down barriers like years ago, fighting in New York would have been unheard of, and now it's just a thing. What's the next big accomplishment that you and your team are looking at?
Fighting in New York would have been unheard of. Now we're number 1, number 2, and number 4 all time at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I'm the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, my team, you'd have to ask them themselves, but what I'm looking forward to is obviously the PI that's opening in Mexico, the type of talent that's going to come out of there in the next 5 or 6 years, and opening a PI in Africa and doing our first event in Africa. Those are really the 2 things that I'm the most excited about right now. So the PI and the fight in Africa is something that I need to get done before my time here is done.
Dana, you actually led into my question. Is there an update on getting the PI in Africa, getting an event in Africa?
Working on the PI in Mexico first. And like I was saying, I was telling one of the reporters the other day, you know, these PIs are crazy expensive. And what it is it's a huge reinvestment in the sport and into the talent that's possibly out there. So we're going to get this thing built, get it up and running, and once that thing's up and running smoothly, then we'll start looking at Africa and putting together a timeline to build one where, and you know, because you gotta fly a whole team out there, and they figure out where the best place is and look at the property and figure all that stuff out, and then we got to look at the cost, and it takes a minute.
Hey Dana.
Yep.
Bo Nickal's probably the most hyped prospect since Khamzat Chimaev. How would you compare the hype from Bo Nickal to Khamzat Chimaev thus far?
I don't know. It's different. You know, it's so different because, you know, Bo comes from, you know, collegiate background, you know, more well-known going into this thing than Khamzat was. Khamzat fights on Fight Island during COVID. Then he jumps out and tells me he wants to fight again next weekend. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And, you know, that whole Khamzat thing just started rolling organically after that. Two totally different types of hype.
And lastly, what would you make of Jake Gyllenhaal's physique at 185-pound division for the movie Roadhouse?
Listen, what can I say? He looks good. I don't think he's been USADA tested, but he looks great.
Paulo Costa's secret juice might have helped him.
What's that?
Maybe he's using too much of Paulo Costa's secret juice.
Possibly. Go ahead, sir.
Dana, Shavkat Rakhmonov has been long compared to Khamzat Chimaev, except he just doesn't speak English, right? But the skill-wise, skill for skill, is Shavkat just someone that you can get behind? Like, how close is he to contender status, title shot?
Well, tonight was a big night for him, obviously. Not just because he won, but that he was in a dogfight and in a war. And you guys saw at the weigh-ins that day. He got a big pop at the weigh-ins already, and then go in and you beat a guy like Neil, and you beat him the way that you did, in an absolute, when you think about all the things that we love as fight fans, it doesn't get any better than that. That's why I'm paying it. This kid didn't make weight, and it's a rule. It's a law. If you are a professional, if you don't show up here and you don't make weight, you don't get a bonus, period. And I don't think we've ever cracked on that. After that fight, I was like, I don't give a shit if he made weight or not, man. We're paying that dude $50,000. That was incredible. Both guys had incredible heart. Just, you couldn't watch a better fight than that. It was awesome. And I love that shit. So anyway, that isn't even what you asked me, but
one final.
Yeah, he's in a good place. Yeah.
One final for me. Speaking of Khamzat Chimaev, there's been reports that he's moving up to middleweight permanently. Can you confirm that?
I hope so. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, over here.
Yep.
David Potter, good seeing you again. Congratulations also on an incredible night, incredible evening, great fights. You've had a relationship with Jon Jones since he was 21 years old, and 2 years later he has the weight in the world on his shoulders as a world champion, having to grow as a person with millions and millions of people watching, and being called the GOAT at such a young age. How would you describe his growth as a person and also his growth as a fighter?
Yeah, I think that winning the championship at 21 and becoming famous and making a lot of money, some people handle it well and some people don't. We've seen guys just completely go off the rails, and Jon Jones is a very unique case because he's gone off the rails, but he's managed to. He's almost like a functional, he's been able to do what most people couldn't do, even if they were straight. If they walked a straight line, they couldn't do what Jon Jones has done. So, I don't know. He's a unique individual. He's different than everybody else. And like I said earlier, he's special. He's just different, and he's the greatest of all time. There's no denying it now. And I don't even really know how to answer your question. Yeah.
We're heading towards the end of Power Slap, the first season. I happen to like the product. I love the product. I think it's going to take a little bit longer for people to jump on the bandwagon. The same people that criticize Power Slap are the same people that share videos of people getting viciously and brutally knocked out. I like the product, but how long do you think people are going to climb on the bandwagon just like they did with MMA?
Listen, what I've gone through with Slap is deja vu from UFC. Exact same thing. It wasn't fucking media like this here back then. It was nobody. We literally would try to beg people to show up to our press conferences. Nobody covered the UFC in the early days. People act like they did now, but they're full of shit.
Yeah, Sure Dog and UG were probably the only.
That's it. And those guys didn't have the money to travel around to some of the places that we went to do fights. We were at a press conference one time. I've told the story before, and I don't know how we got the couple of media people that were there, but one guy was Spanish, Mexican. It was a Mexican newspaper or something, and I had Tito Ortiz up there, and the guy goes, Tito, blah, 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 starts talking to Tito. Tito goes, I don't speak Spanish. I shit you not, the guy got up and walked out of the press conference. He was one of two guys that were there. So, if you look at, Slap, it's identical to everybody in the media ripping it apart, and, I just, in a couple weeks, I'll let you guys know, and I can't wait to stay. I told you so.
And one more question from me. Jake Gyllenhaal, obviously, filming Roadhouse. Great scenes that were filmed yesterday, also the fight scenes. I personally think it was a late stoppage with that flying knee. So how has the business relationship been for them to come in and say, hey, we want to do filming? What was the process of getting that done?
Well, I said it earlier. We have a good relationship with Joel Silver, and he's one of the biggest producers ever. I mean, if you look at the movies he's made, it's every movie we ever watched growing up, from Weird Science to, you name it. This guy's done it. And he was actually, Lorenzo and I went and met with him many years ago, like 15 years ago, and we were talking about the UFC, and he ended up putting Tito, Chuck, and Randy and a couple of his movies. What was it? The ones with Jet Li. When they Jet Li and DMX, and I can't remember the name of the movies.
Cradle
but
to the Grave.
Yes, Cradle to the Grave. Thank you. And that was what started our relationship with Joel Silver, and then he's very close to Ari, so we were willing to do this with him.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, Dana.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hey Dana, Jon Jones is the GOAT. Who do you have in your top 5 of all time?
Shit, right here off the top of my head. I mean, you got to go Jones, GSP, Anderson Silva, and 2 more that I can't think of right now off the top of my head. But yeah, those are my top 3.
And one more, Dana, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Can you take me back to your first meeting with Jon Jones? What was that like, your first time you ever met him?
Oh shit, I don't remember. That was a long time ago, man. I don't remember my first ever meeting with him. Yeah, I have no clue. You guys done with me? Have a great night. Thanks, everybody.
That's UFC President Dana White. Seems to be enjoying himself, Casey. He seems quite happy with the result, with Jon Jones being the GOAT. Getting lots of questions about power slap.
So much awesomeness on tonight's
Lot
card.
of very happy comments about how great things are. Man, Dana really was very enthused about burying Francis Ngannou, wasn't he?
Who?
Yeah.
Did he say that it would have been identical, like if Francis was in there tonight?
I do think he said, I'm not sure it would have been any different. So a little, want to give Dana some credence in that regard. But yeah, so they appear to be ready to burn that bridge as much as they possibly can.
How long do we think this new Jon Jones Dana White honeymoon's gonna last?
That's the part that I think is that I want to talk about. Really,
they've renewed their vows. It seems like
yeah, because this is the same dude, and I wish somebody had asked it. Obviously, this is not the room that's going to ask that question. They're going to say, Dana, how do you get the sun to shine out of your ass? Because it's wonderful to give us this light that you have. But I wish somebody would have just been like, hey, remember that time you were like, Jon Jones will never headline another event? But now, instead, we can talk to the new
Alexa,
UFC
congratulations.
flyweight champion,
I imagine
Alexa
you're still
Grasso.
kind of processing everything that's happening, but can you put into words what your emotions are right now?
Well, imagine that, I won the most important fight of my life. I did everything I had to do to get my hand raised, and I knew that I had to finish the fight no matter what.
You've been working towards this moment for a long time. I guess, how did you feel going in tonight? Did it feel as you expected? More nerves than usual? What was it like?
Honestly, I was super excited. I was super happy. Like I said before, I dreamed with this moment like 3 months, I guess. Like every single night I was dreaming the way I walk into the octagon, the way I was fighting, and at the end, getting my hand raised and the belt.
You won the opening round, and then she made some adjustments, and she won the next 2. I'm just curious how you felt the flow of the fight was going. Did it feel like it was slipping away maybe, or did you feel competitive? Like, how did it feel in there?
Yeah, well, when I realized that I was touching her with my hands, she changed this strategy. She was taking me to the ground. She's so fast, I was not able to defend. But when I was on the ground, I always told myself, you have to go up again and again and again. And you won't stop until you get up. And that's what I did. In the 4th round, my coaches told me, like, lower your level, like, a little bit. And I was able to defend better. And yeah, I was just hoping that she was doing the spin, and it happened like Jojo thing. I knew that it was able, and it was easier to take the back on that moment. So I was just waiting for the perfect opportunity.
And the back take was incredible. We call you a boxer, right? We always talk about your boxing. Is there something especially satisfying about winning the title with a submission?
Well, it feels great. I've been improving my jiu-jitsu for so long, like as you can notice. And this means a lot to me. Now I'm finishing fights, which is amazing. It's truly amazing. I truly want to finish my fights now. and I'm getting more mature. I'm getting better as a fighter, and I'm showing that.
And last thing for me, we don't know what your next fight will be, what your first defense will be, but Valentina says she wants a rematch. Do you want a rematch so that you could prove like I can do this twice, or is it do you care if you fight her again or not?
Of course, she was so dominant in the division. Of course, we can do this again.
Alexa, right here. That spin when you saw her go for that spinning attack and you pounced on it. Was that a technique you knew or an opening you saw? Because I remember at media day you said you could see some of her weaknesses, but you didn't want to get specific. Is that one of the ones you had noticed in preparation?
Well, we knew that she was going to spin, and like I said, it was easier to take the back from that position. So I was just waiting for that moment.
And you are, of course, the first Mexican women champion in UFC history. So what does the feel like for that in history?
Well, imagine that. I was born, raised, trained 100% in Mexico all my life. When we started, we were used to be told like, no, you will never achieve it. You will never have a belt. You will never make it to the UFC. But man, we were working really hard. I have an amazing team behind me. This is my family, my uncle, my dad, my coaches. All my teammates now, we're fighting 5 rounds. We have a lot of talent in my gym, and I'm so proud of that.
And when Brandon won his belt, he became a superstar in Mexico. His life changed. He can't walk around without being recognized. Are you prepared for a life like that, where when you go out in Mexico, now everyone is going to know who you are?
Well, it happens like pretty often, and I'm happy that people can recognize me. And I always like that people know about me for my dedication, my work, and now for being a champion. Imagine that. It's great.
And the final one for me, Dana says he now has to look really hard at Mexico again because you have 3 champions, and Irene might have a fight coming up soon too. Are you hoping your first title defense, possibly the rematch, could be in Mexico City?
Well, that will be amazing. Thank you.
Felicidades, Alexa, por el triunfo. Habla un poquito cómo fue el trabajo sabiendo que Valentina es tan buena grappler. ¿Cómo fue ese trabajo? Y segundo, ¿te han llamado ya de México? ¿Qué te han dicho la gente? ¿Y cómo crees que esto abra puertas para más mujeres mexicanas en las MMA?
Sabía que es una peleadora muy completa, muy difícil. Me llevó al piso, me puso en la posición de crucifix, pero cuando yo estaba ahí dije que no voy a parar hasta salir de aquí. No me van a detener aquí la pelea. Yo no voy a terminar en esta posición como muchos otros oponentes que ha tenido. Entrené de verdad no sabes cuántas veces esa posición para poder salir de ahí. Y los entrenamientos era hasta que te salgas y hasta que te salgas y hasta que te salgas, y así fue. En la pelea fue lo mismo. Yo dije, me tengo que parar y tengo que terminar esta pelea sí o sí. Estuvo difícil, pero yo sabía, como siempre se los he dicho, no es imposible.
Alexa, back here.
Estoy muy contenta por ser la primer campeona mexicana entrenada, nacida en México 100%, y bueno, espero que esto pueda abrir una gran puerta para todas las atletas que vienen detrás de nosotros.
Alexa, no eras la favorita y la gran mayoría de la gente pensaba que iba a ganar Valentina su 8ª defensa. ¿Qué tú le puedes decir, primera pregunta, a esa gente que no te tenían de favorita y que pensaban que Valentina iba a ganar por su experiencia, por su trayectoria? ¿Qué tú le puedes decir ahora después de haber vencido a Valentina?
Pues yo creo que es normal, ¿no? Cuando tenemos un campeón tan dominante y tiene oponentes, siempre uno va a tener como por favorito, ¿no?, al campeón, pero ahora espero que las personas me conozcan, que sepan quién soy, que sepan de mi trabajo, de lo disciplinada que he sido todos estos años, y pues que me apoyen.
Te lo preguntaron en inglés, pero quería escucharlo en español. Todos decíamos, ¿no? Todos decían, tú eres una boxeadora, tú vas a ganar arriba, y le ganas a una especialista abajo también. ¿Te da más satisfacción haberla sometido? ¿Te da más satisfacción haberle ganado en su territorio?
Yo sabía que tenía que terminar la pelea, no importaba si era arriba o en el piso. Entrené mucho mi jiu-jitsu. Yo sabía que era una posibilidad grande de poder finalizar la pelea, y bueno, pasó.
Y a la última, rapidito, ¿te sentías que estabas abajo en la pelea, que estabas perdiendo?
Pues creo que fueron rounds muy cerrados, estábamos como mitad. Cuando estaba en el piso, creo que fue en el segundo, ese sí, creo que sí lo perdí el segundo round, pero después de eso dije, no, yo no voy a perder esta pelea por nada del mundo.
Muchas felicidades.
Gracias.
Alexa, felicidades por el campeonato.
Hay muchos motivos por el cual estar contento esta noche. Para ti, ¿qué fue lo más dulce esta noche?
Lo más importante pues es que estoy bien, que estoy completa, que gané mi pelea y pues el cinturón que me lo llevé. Creo que todo en conjunto está increíble, que tengo mi equipo aquí, mi familia, muchas personas aquí apoyándome y no puedo pedir nada más que eso.
¿Y cómo calificas este momento de México con 3 campeones y cómo lo calificas?
Yo siempre me habían preguntado que qué le faltaba a México para tener más campeones en la UFC y siempre dije que era cuestión de tiempo. En México tenemos un gran semillero de guerreros de corazón y bueno, lo estamos demostrando.
Alexa back here. For all of the little Mexican girls that watched you tonight at their house and are thinking about maybe, trying martial arts, what's your message to them?
To the girls?
To the little Mexican girls that were watching you tonight all around the world.
Oh, like I always say, I wish that every single woman on the earth can learn mixed martial arts. It's important for all of us to learn to defend ourselves, and it's not just about the physical thing, it's about the mental game, your heart, your feelings. It keeps you always strong, avoid dangerous situation, avoid dangerous people, avoid unhealthy things for yourself, and I just truly hope that every single woman on this planet can learn mixed martial arts. Maybe not to fight, but I truly believe that all women should train.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexa back here. Alexa, when they talk about going to Mexico for an event from Guadalajara, same city as Canelo, I mean, do you feel like you might text Dana and say, hey, I know you're thinking maybe Mexico City, but I got one more option for you?
Well, we're still missing one champion, Irene. So I hope that we can have an event in Mexico City and we can have another Mexican champion.
Dana said maybe she gets the next title shot. People get in there with Valentina, and it seems like maybe a little intimidated. Maybe, she's so dominant and everything. How did you handle those emotions going into the fight?
This was the toughest camp of my life. I trained really hard. My coaches were super strict with me. So strict with me. I was training with guys, like heavier guys. And I think that was the key for the success. I was always in bad position, always in bad situations. I was always hustling every single day, and well, this is the result.
My final question, once upon a time, Dana White says, Alexa, Ronda Rousey of Mexico. Obviously, your career, some wins, some losses. When you think about the journey to become a champion, what are you most proud of that you overcame to get here?
Well, everything. I just think that I got more mature as I'm getting older now. 29. I feel like I'm in a perfect season of my life. I'm enjoying a lot more, training, everything. I'm enjoying a lot more everything I do, and yeah, my name is Alexa Grasso, and I'm the new flyweight champion.
Hey, Alexa, over here. I heard you speak Portuguese. Do you mind if I ask you something in Portuguese?
Eu vou tentar.
Ok. Manda um recado pro pessoal que tá te assistindo. Como que foi a luta? Como é que você está se sentindo nesse momento? Parabéns pela vitória. O Brasil torceu muito por você.
Muito obrigada pelo apoio. Eu estou muito feliz. Eu cheguei aqui com a mentalidade de eu vou sair desse lugar só sendo a campeã. Então, é isso que eu fiz. Eu treinei muito forte, eu estou muito feliz pela equipe que eu tenho. E eu sou a campeã agora.
Você é faixa roxa de jiu-jitsu?
Sim, eu
sou.
sou.
Como que você se sentiu finalizando com o jiu-jitsu a poderosa campeã?
Eu tenho que treinar mais. Meus professores, eles sempre falam que eu tenho que fazer mais jiu-jitsu com kimono. Então, é isso que eu vou fazer, porque eu quero meu faixa marrom. Eu vou fazer mais jiu-jitsu como eles pedem para mim, para eu poder ter um grau, uma cinta nova, mas é um compromisso que eu tenho. Eu estou treinando muito forte meu chão. Eu estou muito agradecida com eles.
Eu acho que você mereceu a faixa marrom hoje. Parabéns, obrigado.
Eles não acham. Eles precisam de mim treinar muito mais em kimono.
Obrigado.
Obrigada.
When did you learn Portuguese?
Well, I have like 2 years learning Portuguese. Like my coaches are from Brazil, and I've been watching movies in Portuguese, listening music in Portuguese, reading in Portuguese, Duolingo, and most of like training with them and learning with them.
Yeah, Mexico is obviously a big boxing country. How much do you think your success tonight can help MMA grow and maybe getting competition with boxing in Mexico?
Well, MMA it's a new sport. We have 30 years now in the UFC. Now, the UFC is having 30 years. It's a huge moment for MMA. I know that the sport is growing so much. I hope this can be an amazing season. We're still missing another championship fight. My teammate Irene, so we can have now 4 champions from Mexico, and I think it's a great moment for all of us. We are all achieving great things. You are watching how we are evolving, and it's just a big moment for us. Thank you.
That right there is your new UFC Women's Flyweight Champion. Alexa Grasso submits Valentina Shevchenko with rear naked choke, face crank. I'm not sure what they officially credit it with, but grabbing the shit out of Chevy Truck's face and squeezing it. Have you seen the photo going around Twitter, Casey?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, actually, did anyone ask her?
It's a very good photo.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. It was like it looked like a face crank actually, which doesn't matter. Submission is a submission, but just shows you how tight that squeeze was. Like she was gonna break her freaking jaw.
Yeah, I've always felt face crank wasn't like the right term, just because that's not like a wrenching crank. It was a compression, like we would see like a Habib do. But I think that is still officially a face crank. But
just like pushing that jaw, like just
driving the jaw into your throat in the most uncomfortable way possible. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go look at the photo. It's right now. I think ESPN reposted it. It shows a very, very red Shevchenko, and then her face is just blanched white from the squeeze.
My original
Grasso was putting it on her.
Yeah, my original coach always told me every choke starts with a face crank, basically.
I mean, yeah. Especially because that was the only way I could ever get something under. It's just to get under the nose and reach up. Yep. Just dig the forearm here and pull it up.
I'm so. I don't know, just a personal note. Like I've known Alexa since like her first fight in Invicta. I think it was Invicta 3 or 4 when her and Aldana came over, and I'm just incredibly happy for them and her dad, her uncle, that camp, and I mean I've always been like big.
Her first Invicta fight was Invicta 8, by the way.
Invicta 8, yeah, okay, Invicta 8 or so. Yeah, but I believed in them, but I was just like, but to see it actually happen, like holy moly, and that's.
I mean, one clean can't take anything away from her.
Yeah, and again, even overall, I still think Valentina is a better fighter, per se, just a better fighter.
I'm not sure anymore.
You may be right. You may be right on the whole spectrum of things, but and I really like what you say all the time. Being a champion over and over and over is the freaking hardest thing in the sport, because Alexa Grasso has been for the last 5, 6, 10 years just getting ready for this fight, getting ready for that fight, and just showing up and being the best performance she's ever put out there in the cage. She had to do it tonight, and it sounds so weird, but like it sounds cliche, but like she wanted it more tonight.
I mean, to some extent, yeah. It is. It's the hardest thing. I think it's the hardest thing to do in sports, like just all of sports. it's impossible to defend a belt 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Like, it's why it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And I totally wrote off Alexa Grasso coming into this. It was obviously very wrong. And I'm not, to your earlier point, I'm not sure Shevchenko's a better fighter than her anymore. I think if you're talking peaks of career, sure. Shevchenko's been doing this for 20 years. Her career started in 2003, like 20 solid years.
She was 14 years. Doing the math, she was 14 years old. Her first professional mixed martial arts fight. 14 years old. Yeah.
Nobody fights for 20 years. Like, nobody fights for 20 years. It's just not a thing that happens. Or if they do, they are seriously diminished. And I would be willing to say Shevchenko has maybe fallen off a little bit, but she didn't fall off some cliff. She was winning that fight until she wasn't.
She wasn't running away with anything, but she was winning the fight.
Yeah, exactly. She was ahead. It might have been tied up 2-2 if she had made it out at the end of that round, probably.
Yeah.
And then
that's
all
what
the
I assumed
play
was going to happen when she got her back. I assumed Valentina was going to be able to survive the
So did
last
I.
minute, and then okay, now it's tied 2-2. Ooh, that's what's going to happen in the fifth round. I mean, it was still up for. If she would have made it out that fourth round, the fight was clearly still up for grabs on both sides.
So the official judges' scorecards, I looked at them earlier. They all had it 29-28 Shevchenko heading into the fourth. Obviously, that round was pretty close, and Grasso with the back control and a sub attempt is going to take you there. So yeah,
won in the round,
we would have been there. But Grasso took advantage of her time, and I don't know who I'll pick in a rematch. Frankly, like assuming that is what happens here, Grasso. I don't know to say that she was winning the striking exchanges, but they were even. They were very competitive. She was doing a really good job of getting Shevchenko backed up to the fence, where because she was missing with everything, all of her first punches, but she was just throwing in combination. And when Shevchenko would get to the fence, she can't escape and circle out, and so then the combinations start hitting on the back end of those punches. And Shevchenko didn't have a ton of answers for it. She wasn't sitting down super hard on counters. She started to work the jab a little bit, but the answer she really went to was the wrestling, and that was really effective. But now, if they run it back, is she going to want to do that again, given how bad the grappling went for her overall with that finish? Like, I don't know.
I've always said that Shevchenko, to me, like her biggest flaw, I guess, is her. First of all, I never thought she was fighting off her back. I always thought she's okay.
Oh no, she's not very good there.
Fighting off her back.
The tapping Pena thing was like the world's biggest fool's gold that has ever happened.
Yeah, and she does. I don't know how to say it nicely, but she just sometimes does stupid things like that.
Oh, she makes real dumb decisions every once in a while.
Yeah, and her athleticism and just her experience usually kind of gets her out of it, but it caught up to her tonight, I guess.
Exactly. No, I think you're dead on. Because, like, I was saying it on the watch part. It was like, oh, she's going to go for it. And she went for it, I think, at the end of the first round, but there was just no time left. So she went for the head and arm choke throw again. Yeah, the same one that Tyler Santos repeatedly just stayed with and then took back on. It is a flawed and bad technique that almost exclusively exists in women's MMA and shouldn't exist in MMA in general outside of smokers in the Midwest or whatever. Like, you should never be doing it. And Shevchenko has gotten away doing it because she was just so much more physical than these women. And I think part of it, maybe we're seeing her drop off a little bit. Again, 20 years in the game. It's a long time. Also, I was impressed by Grasso's physicality in this. Like, she was able to compete in the clinches and the exchanges. Like, she was not lacking for strength in those tie-ups, and that was not what I was anticipating at all, because we haven't seen that much from her in that regard.
Yeah, one of those things, and in all our preview shows and everything, everyone kept saying that, like, Shevchenko's gonna be so much more physical than her, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm wrong, but like, I've stood next to Grasso, like the 125 Grasso, and she's she's bulky. I mean, she's got some guns on
She
her.
carries her weight well, yeah. But
Yeah,
she's just never fought like that before.
She hasn't fought that way. Yeah, you're right.
Like
And,
the Araujo fight, like which could have been some sort. She never even got really into those positions. This was just stay at range and throw boxing combos. Like haven't seen it. The last time we saw her really engage physically was like probably Tatiana Suarez, who ran over her because it's Tatiana Suarez.
Tatiana Suarez at strawweight,
Yeah.
and that
also
was
5 years ago. You can do a lot of growing in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, 5 years ago. And that was one of the things I kind of kept reiterating. It's like, it's 5 years ago. I feel like we can't even judge. That's just old. It's too old.
No, it's not. That's why Jon Jones is currently the number one pound for pound fighter in the world because of stuff he did 5 years ago. And Stipe is getting the title shot.
But I was gonna say, I guess they're gonna run it back, and poor Erin Blanchfield. I guess she's gonna have to wait around.
I'm okay with it, mainly because Erin Blanchfield's 23, so she's got time. She's got time to wait around, and
I still, as much as I love Alexa, I still think Erin Blanchfield is actually going to end up being.
Erin Blanchfield's gonna kill her, man.
Yeah. I think she's the real deal. Grasso, she this is her night. But
can never take tonight away from her.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
And if she wins the rematch, I mean, that will be because she totally can. But I'm with you. One of the first things I thought when I was able to really have true thoughts as opposed to an emotional reaction about this one was Erin Blanchfield might be right. Like, Erin Blanchfield been saying, I'm just better than everybody. I just have to show it. And a lot of us were like, I mean, you might be. We're really high on her. I have her my number 2 flyweight in the world, which
I think I'm too also.
Which is not going to be that she's going to move to number 1, I think. Though I may just have to give it to Grasso out of thing.
I think you have to.
I have to judge on how I feel about that because you know my stance, but that's a whole separate issue. But like, it wouldn't stun me if Shevchenko was able to, like, okay, I just really need to not engage with Erin Blanchfield at all in this thing and form a game plan. Like, I believe she could do it, but after watching how quick Grasso took the back, how little resistance Shevchenko offered to that, she kind of fumbled around while Grasso just put the choke on, and she did that thing which I assume largely when it happens in fights is fighters just being a little too tired, not being fully focused in. Because if you're in the training room and someone hops your back, the thing they tell you and the first thing always do is tuck and cover. You are protecting here and then fight for hands, and then you can start working everything out. It's not post my arms and try to stand up with a person on my back.
Yeah, like immediately, boom. Yeah.
Yeah, you're immediately here because you defense first. Because as my old jiu-jitsu coach used to tell me all the time, hey, so how do I get out of this choke with the arm across the chin? You do it 5 minutes before it gets there, because once you're that deep in, you're just fucked. It's hard. It's like I mean, I can try and show you, but the true answer is don't ever get in that position or you're done. But you watching how quickly Grasso went, and again, Grasso impressed the hell out of me tonight. Like, you can't say anything but good things about every facet of the game she showed. Really, she's not as good a grappler as Erin Blanchfield. Like, Erin Blanchfield will, if Grasso can do that to Shevchenko, Blanchfield certainly could. Which means Blanchfield can do that to anybody in this weight class. And when she gets her time, that's going to be your new flyweight champion, I believe. But for now, it's Alexa Grasso, and two true UFC champions and one interim for Mexico. So UFC Mexico, Casey, how big of an event is that going to be?
If they can book, and this is I threw it on Twitter. I've been wanting this fight forever because just as much I'm a big believer in Grasso, I'm a big believer in Arena Aldana. I hope they book Nunes Aldana in Mexico somewhere, and because
I don't think you can. I don't think you can do that one just because I think you have to do Moreno Pantoja that just has to happen in,
you get
in Mexico.
multiple title fights. I mean, I figure.
Yeah, but I think you got to also have Grasso on it. So I don't think
Yeah,
you can do three.
Three.
I don't think they can do
It was
three.
the three. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
and
I was just hoping.
if Grasso hadn't won this, then I would have been all on board. But I think you got to give Grasso her day, and there's just no way you go to Mexico City and you don't do Moreno Pants 3 like that fight. So, but if they did it, I mean, I would watch. I'm
I just hope they book that fight in general. It doesn't need to be in Mexico, but
I think they have to now. I don't think there's any other. There are really no other outcomes for them to go.
Yeah, Ardana might be one of the biggest winners tonight in the sense.
Somehow the biggest winner tonight.
Cool.
So, didn't fight, but good for her. So,
did and it's a very loose similarity, but when does Valentina need to change something in her camp? Because her camp's like this kind of mystery camp, really. It's just her and that one coach. She doesn't really seem to have a team. It's just her and her sister, and they kind of just bounce around different gyms across the world. Has it finally hit a limit as far as like her skill set, or are they just gonna kind of actually learn from this?
My guess is that there's just nothing that can be done at this point. Like changing, I've actually always been a pretty big supporter of moving around camps, not like super freely, but just in life. It's good to get different looks and to just kind of branch out and test. You don't have to stay there forever, but I would say certainly, I suspect, even though Jon Jones had a bunch of his normal people still with him, Greg Jackson was still in the corner there, etc. It seemed like he worked with a lot of his traditional people. He branched out, worked with Henry Cejudo some for this comeback, changed it all up a little bit. And it's hard to say that made the difference, but I don't think it would hurt. And certainly say it probably would help in general, because even taking away, exactly what happened tonight, we're also looking at the Tyler Santos fight, which some people thought she lost. Certainly one of her less good performances. You get 2 back-to-back performances, and I think it could help to get a different look. I have also, in general, think that this might just be it for her. Like, not forever. She's still not like shot or whatever, but the sport moves on, catches up. She's been champs for 5 years, or she had been champ for 5 years. That's about the time frames we're looking at usually. I mean, 5 to 7 years is the upper end of the elite, just because of the way the sport works and moves. And
I guess that was
if
the big
she
question.
won,
The big question coming into this was the Santos fight an off night, or was that
the new normal?
New normal, and it's looking like it's a new normal. I mean, because she wasn't blown out of the water by Alexa. I mean, obviously she got finished. It was a super competitive fight, but it was super competitive. It wasn't the dominance she had on Murphy, dominance that she had on Maya, and so on and so on. It was always a fight, even the rounds that Valentina was winning.
Yep, and objectively, it was that way in a fight that should favor her. Even taking into consideration Alexa Grasso looked better than we thought. Like, from a nuts and bolts standpoint, this is still a style that should be beneficial for what Shevchenko has historically fought. Someone who is largely just a volume boxer, not someone with like true knockout power, not someone renowned for her grappling. We saw, and she was having success in some of those areas. We saw what ended up happening. So,
it's a bit even worse of a sign, I guess, for Shevchenko's future. The fact that this was a very favorable matchup.
Exactly.
It still didn't go her way.
Exactly. Even factoring in us being a little wrong on Grasso, right? Like, I still don't think we were. I don't think everybody was all the way wrong on Grasso. She is who she is. Like, we have seen her. She is a better version, obviously, than I certainly thought and than many thought. But the division catches up a little bit. Physicality catches up a little bit. Hers tails off a little bit. Certainly getting a new look, maybe approaching somebody who will approach the fight game different could help her maintain at the top, but it's just hard, man. I can't imagine doing anything good for 20 years. It seems impossible to be elite at anything ever for 2 full decades. And so, like, just how it goes. I mean, we're writing her off and burying her. Maybe she comes back. Maybe she wins the rematch. Totally could happen. But
even if she wins the rematch, I still don't think we have that. She's susceptible to. Even if she beats Alexa in the rematch, which she could.
Mm-hmm.
Every fight after that is still going to be
Blanchfield still looks real scary.
Yeah, it still looks real scary. Yeah, and there's a lot of other 25ers coming up too. Yeah.
This is not Nunez Pena, right? We're like, okay, well, there's still nobody in the weight class to even fight her, really, if she wins this rematch. And just the texture of the fight was different. It just felt very different. So we were probably seeing the last great run of Shevchenko, but maybe not. Maybe we'll find out moving forward. Or maybe Alexa Grasso is just the new truth. Maybe because she is 29. And I can't speak for anybody else. I definitely didn't factor that enough into my thought process of being like, she's still young enough to be making leaps, to be making these improvements.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught the fan Q&A because no, Mike, it's fine. We're wrong all the time on stuff, but Mike was Mike was very adamant. This is one-way traffic. Shevchenko's going to do that. His Tom Brady thing where he's gonna just dominate and stuff. But I kept saying, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, she is hitting her prime right now, and the big difference is, like, there are good coaches in Mexico now. There are good coaches, and that was always an issue before. You just didn't have the right wrestling coaches. You didn't have the right jiu-jitsu coaches. Alexa freaking knows Portuguese now because there are so many Brazilians down there.
That was awesome, by the way. We're just breaking out.
Yeah, she's like, she knows Portuguese now because there's so many Brazilians down there teaching MMA, to new Mexican students down there. So, like, now she has better training partners, better coaches, and whatever years in the game doing this full time now. She's getting better. I was trying to kind of explain this. She's like Mexican MMA is like for real. When I was down in Tijuana just about a few months ago, just driving around, I drove by like 3 jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and MMA schools just randomly. I saw more MMA down there, MMA type of things, than I saw boxing. And I know boxing's still bigger, but I saw a lot of MMA. I was actually like, wow, like it's a thing. It is really a thing.
Yeah. Alexa Grasso is for sure not going to be the last Mexican UFC champion. We are probably in for a run of them in the coming years because it's a hotbed for combat sports. And this is something that can work. I mean, we've seen what has happened with the Caucasus region when they came in and now are just around forever. I feel like we could be looking at something very similar with Mexico and Latin America. So watch out, everybody. This sport's getting better. Still just improving every day.
It really is. It sounds, I don't know, like we just kind of say that, but I honestly think that it's true. The sport is actually getting better. The athletes are getting better, and it is getting more worldwide. And
speaking of getting better and getting more worldwide, before we get to the post show, we're still waiting on Jon Jones. Who knows how long that'll take? I want to talk.
3 years.
We've got to talk about the man, Shavkat Rakhmonov, standing bulldog choke, which isn't a thing that doesn't happen outside of bars. Outside of a bar,
they don't even teach that. Do they even teach that in jiu-jitsu classes? I don't even.
There's a 0% chance that anybody has ever taught a standing bulldog choke.
Yes.
It's just a bulldog choke that you finish and sit out on. It's not. Yeah. It's not. You can actually just do this if you have a hella squeeze. You could just do it at any point in time.
Yeah.
The man continues his undefeated record and his record of all stoppages. Gets it very late in the game, 4 minutes into the third round. How do you feel about Shavkat Rakhmonov coming off that Jeff Neal fight, which was awesome?
Oh, wow. I've been when the whole Hamzat 170 and Shavkat thing was kind of going. Like I was always like, dude, no, it's Shavkat. Shavkat's the guy. I know Hamzat's really good, but I always was like, no, I think Shavkat's the dude, and I feel a little vindicated because like it's just the vibe.
Oh, we've got some man's face in our camera.
I was just I was happy I got to see a different side of him in terms of fighting abilities. I knew he was a good striker, but he's a very unique striker. Like we saw something different tonight, and the angles, his range, and just his willingness to he lost his freaking mouthpiece, and then not one point did he tell the ref, and he was in a stand-up fight where he was getting punched in the face, and he didn't give a crap. I don't know if he's like the next 170 GOAT or anything like that. I don't want to go that far, but like right now, he could honestly be the best welterweight in the world. We just need to give him the opportunity. But beyond that, he's just so freaking exciting, I'm excited to have a fighter that we just watch for the pure violence. Like we're not gonna critique him for his call out. He was like, oh, well, he got a bad call out. He didn't use his mic time properly. He doesn't need it. He just shows up, has this cool little hat.
Just wears the funny hat. That's all you need. Just wear the funny hat.
It was just it kind of, the fight gave me a lot of similarities. It reminded me a lot of Burns Hamzat in the sense that
it definitely ended up that way.
In the sense that like both not the same exact, but like oh man, we got to find out this guy can fight. He can't just he can't just beat up someone. He can fight, and that's a big thing. And he fought on a giant stage with lots of expectations. He was a giant favorite in the card, but even though Jeff Neal kind of, I guess, overperforms a bit, it didn't matter. Like Shavkat took his beating, and just the fact that he finished Jeff Neal to it. Has Jeff Neal ever been finished too? Is that right?
Hold on, let me look that up. I feel like he has. But
maybe he's never been submitted, or anything like something like that.
Kevin Holland finished. He's finished twice on the regionals. Once by Kevin Holland, once by a man named Martin Sano in his third fight ever.
Okay, so has a full-time professional fighter. Not
since he's been in the UFC. It has not been finished. So
yeah, so it's just incredibly impressive. But I was expecting that, so nothing kind of shocked me. It's just kind of cool seeing it in action. What did you think, sir?
Felt very similar. You want to see the guys get tested, right? Because you can't just be a hammer forever. At some point, you're going to have some flex. You're going to have to show the ability to work through counter offense. And we got to see that in many of the same ways we saw Hamzat Burns. I am still probably a little higher on Hamzat than I am on Shavkat. My ideal outcome is for those two men to fight for the welterweight title, because that is my everything. But it struck me in this fight more than any of the other ones that I think Shavkat is actually the spiritual successor to Khabib, which makes me love him all the more, because Khabib's one of my favorite fighters of all time. And I know Islam is obviously the chosen successor. He fights very differently than Khabib. Like, they are not the same fighter. In some ways, they're mirrors, and you can tell that they work together, but you can also tell that they work together. And so, things that Islam does appear like he's very comfortable working in opposition to Khabib because they train together. Whereas Shavkat's doing the same stuff Khabib did. Different. He's approaching it a little differently, but he put so much pressure on Jeff Neal from almost the word go. And certainly once he started building a head full of steam, he just never gave up on it. And Jeff Neal, to his full credit, I don't think he ever gave up a takedown. I could be wrong on that. But I came into that fight thinking Jeff Neal's really good at defending takedowns and working in the clinch. And I think Shavkat can compete on the feet, but Jeff Neal is very good on the feet. And we have never seen Shavkat fight on the feet when he didn't have the option to do something else. And that does change the way you fight. It's very different, even the threat or the idea of takedowns. And so I was really interested to see how that would shake out. Obviously, Shavkat did very well, but Jeff Neal kind of started to wilt. It looked to me, not that he gave up, because he kept firing back the whole time.
No, he didn't give up at all. It was just there's just
but
the human body can only take so much.
Yeah, you can just see his face and his body just be like, and this dude's still here. I'm cracking him with the hardest left hand I can throw. And sure, it might get a nod out of him, but he is just staying in my face, working that jab, just firing over knees down the middle. A lot of the tools he was using, like Habib. Yeah, he used a lot of Habib-like tools. And remember, at one point in time, he did train with Habib. I think Abdul Manap may have cornered him for one of his early fights.
I didn't even know that.
I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm not 1,000%, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. That like he has done some work with them. Obviously, not like a full member of the camp, but it had been around, and certainly spiritually feels like that kind of pressure fighter can throw hands. A more polished striker than Habib, certainly, but is going to get in your face, going to make you work, going to break you down. And if he had ever gotten the grappling exchanges, I think Jeff Neal probably would have been screwed. And I based that on the fact that he didn't even get the grappling exchanges he wanted, and he still choked the man out. So I cannot wait to see this dude fight either Leon Edwards or Kamaru Usman. I know you called out Colby Covington. Super down for that fight. And Dana, it sounded like, said that Colby's ready to fight in the post fight. How do you feel about that fight, Case? Do you think, is that the fight to go, Shavkat versus Colby?
It makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, if the UFC really wants to make Shavkat a star, he needs to beat another star. He beat a very good fighter tonight in a very fight of the year contender. Won't be fight of the year, but just a really good fight. But for the UFC, in terms of making money and selling pay-per-views, him putting a beating on Colby, and if Colby somehow defeats Shavkat, then Colby legitimately will have earned another title shot. So it makes sense. I
guess that's true. He would have, but
it's
true. True. Poor Bilal Muhammad just sitting out here forever.
I forgot about him.
Just forever.
What's his name? I totally forgot his name.
You forgot his name, did you?
I forgot
if only there was a reason to remember it, Casey. All right, last thing on this fight. Casey, I don't know if you thought about this at all, but we are now 2 months fully and a couple of days into the year. Tonight gave us two really, really good contenders. Frankly, I would be surprised if they aren't in the top 5 by year end for submission of the year, with Grasso on Shevchenko and Rakhmonov on Neal. Which of those is your front runner for submission of the year right now?
I gotta give it to Grasso. Yeah, I guess
I
gotta give it.
I think that I'm gonna say that as well. But
obviously,
I'm
Shavkat,
not
just
sure.
for the rarity of it and kind of the.
I love to reward rarity in submission of the year more than any other category.
Yeah. But I think just the stakes and the storyline of Grasso losing a fight and then doing that and dethroning the queen like that, that's going to be hard to beat.
Does it change if she loses the rematch? Or is this just a moment in time unto itself? And so it.
No, I don't think it changes. Because this submission was a good submission. It wasn't a BS submission. Like I was kind of, I'm still kind of hurt that we gave submission of the year to Julia Pena when she submitted Nunes. When I was like,
look, submission exhaustion is a totally
submission. It's about it, yeah. But this was not an exhaustion submission. This was legit.
I don't know. You look at that photo; it looks pretty exhausting to be Valentina Shevchenko getting your face torn off.
But yeah. But right now, I would have definitely due to the high stakes of the fight and who it happened to. I would definitely go Grasso right now. But I hope we don't. That photo that's going around that UFC photographer got of Jeff No getting choked out. Ooh. There's something about a good iconic image can go a long way as far as
Dude, we got some really good images on this one. The Jon Jones walking away with Ciryl Gane like over his shoulder and looking dazed, and John shushing the hard cam or whatever. Speaking of Jon Jones, your UFC heavyweight champion with a lovely 8-button vest here or jacket, coming to talk, unbuttoning it, ready to go. Let's listen to Jon Bones Jones.
And new.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
John, congratulations. You've had more than your share of championship victories throughout your career, but I guess this one might feel a little different, a little special. I guess, can you put into words what this one means to you?
I'm just so grateful. I'm very grateful. Without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I would have never made it this far, and I just want to acknowledge him in everything that I am and everything that I do. I want to thank everybody out there who prayed for me. I felt their energy, and I'm very grateful. This fight means a lot. It means a lot. I'm humbled by it, and it just goes to show that no matter what happens in life, if you just continue to strive, put one foot in front of the other, the sky's the limit, and this world really can be your oyster. I've never felt more at peace. I've never felt more happy. Last night at my fight dinner, I almost cried. I felt like I was living in a dream. I looked around and I just saw so many leaders. A lot of my friends these days are great business owners. They're great dads. They're great friends. They're men of substance. I got really great men and women in my life. My fiance, my beautiful daughters, my fiance's support system, her friends. Yeah, I'm just really happy. I'm really happy. I feel like my whole world is a byproduct of the people that are in my life. So I just want to thank every single one of my supporters, my fans. Without them, I wouldn't be much. Love you too.
Can you talk about the feeling as you stepped in there tonight, right? I mean, it's been 3 years. You're up a weight class against a very big dude. I mean, was there a different nervous kind of energy than usual when you got in there?
I mean, Ciryl Gane has a great physique. We all know that. The guy looks like a bodybuilder. But, my coaches reminded me, John, Thiago Santos had a really awesome physique. Vitor Belfort had muscles in his earlobes. And so it was just like, it's not a bodybuilding competition. At the end of the day, it's about heart, it's about grit, it's about wanting to be out there. And my buddy Brian McKenzie, he said something to me right before I went out to the cage. He said like neurologically, a cow and a lion, they feel the same emotions when they're fighting. They're both pumped up with adrenaline. He said the only difference is the lion actually wants to be there. And it was a perfect thing to say to me in a moment because I was nervous. And he reminded me, bro, it's normal. And do you want to be here? And at that moment I was like, oh yeah, I want to be here. And I want more. And I just went out there with a very offensive mindset and we got it done. I'm not sure if I answered your question or not. I'm just talking.
That's all right. And talk to me, I mean, obviously we knew the wrestling skills would be there, but at heavyweight, you hadn't wrestled at heavyweight before. So I guess how did it feel in there? Was it more difficult? Did you feel the strength as an issue when you went through the wrestling sequences?
I really do believe that I'm one of the strongest heavyweights in the heavyweight division. When I was a light heavyweight, people would say all the time, John is a lot stronger than what he appears to be. Almost every opponent, can say that. And now that I've been powerlifting and living a martial arts lifestyle, I really truly believe that I'm the strongest heavyweight in the heavyweight division. There's guys that can do a lot of things probably more than me. Guys can squat more than me, bench more than me. But when it comes to just total strength and muscular endurance and knowing how to pace yourself and knowing how to use endurance. I believe I'm one of the most fit athletes in the game, whether I look like it or not. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. I think some of my best performances are going to be coming within the next year or so.
Well, like you said, performances, so that means more than one. But I guess you made it clear that you said you want Stipe next. A timeline? Is there anything? I mean, are you have a date circled on the calendar yet, or do you have an idea like what would make the most sense for you?
I got to talk to my coaching staff and see how, what they think. But we took 0 damage tonight, and I'm getting right back to practice. My buddy Maurice Green has a fight coming up in the PFL. Jorgen De Castro has a fight coming up in the PFL, and I owe it to my team to take the back seat and be the training partner, and that's exactly what we got to do. We get right back to work, and I believe in my next fight, I'll go into it with a different level of confidence, an even higher level of confidence. I believe that I'm going to look really great. I'm going to have even higher endurance than I had today, which is going to be hard to beat because I'm in really great condition. And these guys in the back acting like nuts. I can't take you guys anywhere. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the next fight is going to be awesome. I say it respectfully to Stipe. I would take time off from being a firefighter right now, and I mean that with all due respect. My whole world is going to be focused on him. This is the biggest opportunity in my life to beat the heavyweight GOAT, and I'm going to give it everything I got, absolutely everything I got. Stipe's talking about the fact that he's heavier than me right now. His head's already in the wrong spot if he thinks weightlifting is going to beat me. He'll never be younger than he is right now. He'll never be faster. And I'm going to not only beat Stipe Miocic, I'm going to finish Stipe Miocic before the championship rounds.
John, over here. You had alluded to in your post-fight interview that you felt off with your striking. What was that? That just like nerves or ring rust or what?
Well, there's always a slight filling out process. I actually was dealing with a slight injury before this fight, and I didn't really spar many times. I sparred the total of 3 times in this training camp, and so my striking felt a little unfamiliar. I had drilled a lot. I did a lot of smart drilling, but I didn't spar a lot, and so when I was out there, it was almost like I was trying to remember how to do it, fight on the feet for a moment. But thank God that didn't last too long. I was able to get my hands on him, and that's something I've been doing my whole life. I've been wrestling and grappling my whole life. I feel like my jiu-jitsu is at an all-time high. My wrestling confidence is at an all-time high. And that just may be my style moving forward, getting away from all the kickboxing. I want to save brain cells, and fighting on the ground is just a lot more advantageous.
What was going on with the tape on your toes? They looked like they were cutting it off before you were getting in there?
Yeah, so I used a different tape. I usually use a certain brand of tape. I'll give them a shout out, War Tape. And I feel like it's just a lot stickier. I used the UFC's tape tonight, and as soon as my body started to sweat, the tape was sliding all over the place. And so I made almost like a little cast around my toe that linked down to the middle of my foot, so that the tape wouldn't slide off my toes. And when I got out there, the commission was just like, "You can't tape your feet." And I'm like, "Dude, I've always taped my feet. I'm not going to compete if I can't tape my toes. I just won't do it. I want everyone to know that for the future." So thank God we didn't have a disaster out there tonight. But they ended up changing the tone a little bit. They allowed me to keep my toes taped, and they had made me take the rest of the tape off the rest of my foot. And it was a nice little distraction going into the fight. But one thing about my job is that it throws curveballs, and we got to be able to think on the fly. We got to be able to improvise. And so I just stayed calm. I just said, "John, it's nothing much. Just stay cool, keep your head in the game." And we got the tape off the rest of my foot, and I was able to go out there and proceed to the mission.
John, to your left. You've always been a popular fighter, but it seems like this week you've gone to another level, right? The press conference, I know you really enjoyed that, the way the crowd reacted to you. What was it like tonight? You kind of got the biggest pop all when you got in the cage, the place went nuts. And, you know, a lot of times you've been the bad guy, right? Now you were the good guy, and everybody was happy to see you. What did that feel like for you?
You know, when I first got into the UFC, I would talk about God a lot and wanting to be a good person. And then people got to see that my life wasn't perfect, that I make mistakes, and that I sin, and that I fall down. And I think for a long time, people looked at me as just an incredibly fake individual. And I think as of right now, I think people can just see that I'm a human, that I do love God, but I'm a human. And Christians aren't perfect. And I just think I'm more relatable to people than I've ever been. And, you know, despite how many times I mess up, I do try to stand for good and something that's bigger than me. And I just think there's a relatability that I have with people, where either you absolutely hate me or you're just learning to understand the man that I am. And I just think it's going over well for me.
When did you adopt that attitude, right? I mean, how and when did it change?
You know, I came into the game young, and I think I was like 21, 20 years old when I joined the UFC, 19 something, and I'm 35 years old now. I just got off of a big hiatus. I took 3 years off. I got to focus on my family. I got to focus on development as a man. I got to start a care project where I'm giving back to the city of Albuquerque. I got to have a dog that was my best friend. You know what I mean? Just little stuff that had nothing to do with being Jon Bones Jones. It just helped me put life in perspective. It just helped me realize what an opportunity I have, and I've had a lot of reflection time. I've got to see the belt passed around from champion to champion, and all these guys from different countries become the face of the sport, and it's been awesome to witness. And just today, I just have my head screwed on a little bit more straight than it's ever been, and just more self-aware. And I think people are starting to notice that.
Last question for me. You know, Dana was up here before talking about you being the GOAT and unquestionably the GOAT anymore. And you think in most sports, you know, most people think Michael Jordan, but there's some people that think LeBron, otherwise. NFL, some people think Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback. Other people were arguing last week it was Joe Montana. But it seems in MMA you have separated yourself to such a degree that there isn't an argument anymore. And I wonder what that rare air up there where you're all by yourself among all these great fighters who have competed, what does that feel like?
It feels great. It feels great. I've been familiar with high praises for a while now. And I'm very aware that, you know, pride becomes before the fall. So it's going to be different being the champ again, and everyone's calling you the baddest man on the planet. But you know, my surroundings, my circle, they'll keep me humble. At the end of the day, when I get back to Albuquerque, I'm just another guy on my team. And when I'm at home with my fiance and my girls, with my kids, I'm just another guy. I'm just dad. You know what I mean? So I know that grounding myself is going to be more important than ever. Not getting too big for my britches, continuing to do community work, continue to rub elbows with everybody, not getting high on myself. That's going to be the key to my success, is just remaining humble.
John,
Hey, John.
one more in the front right here. I don't know if you saw, but Francis tweeted, good job, Johnny Boy, sincerely, the heavyweight king. Do you have a response to Francis Ngannou referring to himself?
Francis is a big old pussy.
Hey, John, question over here. John, TJ Legacy, ESPN Gainesville. In your time of reflection and perspective over the past 3 years.
I love that quote. I love it. All that muscle with a big ass pussy. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Do you ever think about your MMA mortality? You know, you have the longest win streak in UFC history. Do you ever think about one day it being over? I know Tom Brady called you the GOAT. He just recently hung it up. Do you ever think about your mortality in the sport?
Ask that again. I'm sorry.
Do you ever, during your time of reflection, do you ever think of how long you can keep this going, this domination in UFC? Do you ever think of your MMA mortality?
You know, I just try to take it one fight at a time, 1 year at a time. I just try to take it one just one situation at a time. You know, I do fight. I do fight to try to live forever in some sense, and you know, it's an honor that years from now people talk about me in barbershops about who was one of the greatest hand-to-hand combatants of all time, and I'm honored. I'm honored that I be considered. I'm humbled by it, and I just want more challenges. That's really what it's about for me. Just more challenges.
Jon, I saw you say that you plan on donating your $50,000 bonus to some New Mexico charities. Can you explain a little bit more about what causes you want to work with?
Yeah, the Care Project is something that I created with a group of friends when the pandemic started. We started giving back to our community. Originally, we went out bearing arms, and we were literally willing to fight for our city, and we switched it from being protectors to just guys who gave back, and it's one of the most gratifying things I've ever been a part of. Just giving back to others, and I gotta officially become a 501c3 so that I can do even more. But yeah, this 50,000 will go. I'm not sure what we're gonna do with it. We do things with the homeless. We provide gifts for Christmas. We do a lot of cool things, and it's just gonna go towards that. It's a great bonus, and I'm excited to do some good with it.
Speaking of money, you did not fall victim to the Drake curse tonight. He bet $500,000 on you, and you managed to come through for him. Any reaction to that?
Next question.
What's up? Congratulations, champ.
Hey, how are you, Ellie? Step back.
I'm reporting.
Reporting.
You made it look easy.
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
me about that.
I'm just grateful. I'm just super grateful. I'm grateful. I'm humbled by it. It was a prediction that I had, and I was able to go out there and pull it off. It just makes me believe in my grappling and my physical strength and my wrestling even more so. And I'll work on that strength and make it even stronger for the next fight.
And tell me about Gervonta Davis visiting you at camp.
Oh, it was great to have Tank Davis come out. He was a very humble young man, very humble, very soft-spoken, and you know, his persona on Instagram, he's just this larger-than-life character, you know. But in person, him and his team were very respectful men. They seem like quality guys, and I wish him all the best moving forward in life.
Jon, down to your right. Jon, down to your right. Dana wasn't here. Didn't realize that you were having an after party. He was a bit worried. Do you think he has a reason to be worried or not?
Absolutely not. He has no reason to be worried. Dana knows we all make mistakes, and I am not the man. I won't even say that. I'm excited to go out. I'm excited to meet my fans. I'm excited to shake their hands, to look them in the eyes, to give them hugs. I know the tickets were more expensive than they normally are, and a lot of people don't get the opportunity to see me in person. And I want to give as much good energy as I can. So my after party is not about drinking or anything like that. It's about giving back to my fans. It's the same reason why I had a meet and greet earlier in the week. I want to give back to my fans. So everyone over at Hakkasan waiting for me. I hope you guys have the best memories tonight and the best experience.
Jon, right back here. Straight in the back. Jon, I mean, when you talk about a victory like this, comeback, the layoff, win a second title, title second weight class, was there ever any thought of just, this may be the night you could just walk away on top? Did that ever cross your mind to say, hey, it may not even get better than this, it's such a big victory?
It is a big victory, but I feel like you're not the champ unless you defend that belt. And I got at least one more in me, and that's what I'm going to give the fans.
On the topic when you started the fight, the low blow happens almost immediately. Did that throw off any focus or rhythm? Obviously, right there, that first opening seconds of the fight.
No, to be honest with you, it didn't even hurt that bad. I felt it tingling now, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't enough to actually stop me. I didn't want a strike like that to go unnoticed, so I thought I'd take a timeout, let the ref know that I was fouled, and we could continue. If you notice, I didn't take a very long timeout, but I didn't want things like that, dirty moves, to be unnoticed. I've noticed in a lot of Ciryl Gane's fights, you know, if you look at that Tai Tuivasa fight, one of the shots that actually put him down was a strike to the back of the head. He hits people in the back of the head quite a bit, and I didn't want any type of dirty play happening on such a big night. Guys,
John, just for the French fans, it was a big expectation. So now you are just sorry for them?
no, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry to the French fans at all. This is combat, this is war, and there's no mercy. Guys, merci. Have a great night. Take care.
Jon Jones calling a shot and just deciding when he's done. Which, fair play to him. It's late. He's been at this for a while. And you know who else has been at it for a while, Case? You and I. But we still have more to go. The presser, because there's no one else here, I think, to wait. So we're looking at Jon Jones, UFC heavyweight champion. And instead, as soon as we're done with this, you can look at my not-so-beautiful face, Casey's majestic face. I think we've got Mike Heck and Shaheen Al-Shadi coming up for our UFC 285 post-show. That should be coming up in just a couple of minutes right here on the same page, so stay locked. And we will see you guys in just a couple of minutes to talk about all things UFC 285, Jon Jones, and the like. See you guys then.